I just wanted to say on behalf of the University YMCA, we are honored to have today's speaker. And as a side note, we were honored that our guest speaker today was willing and able to work with our committee in making sure that we were reaching out to some amazing speakers for the whole entire series. So we are indebted to Rebecca for working with the committee to helping us secure some amazing folks to come talk for the rest of the series. So please do check out the list that should be on your chairs for the upcoming speakers, because it's going to be a pretty amazing series. So, without further ado, Rebecca Ginsburg is a faculty member at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign and the director of the Education Justice Project, the campus's prison education program. She received her bachelor's degree in English from Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles, her JD from the University of Michigan Law School, and a PhD in architectural history from the University of California at Berkeley. It was while she was a graduate student at Berkeley that she first became involved in prison education. At the University of Illinois, she is on the faculty of the Department of Educational Policy, Organization, and Leadership, and the Department of Landscape Architecture. She teaches courses on the Atlantic slave trade, the history of prisons and education, and social justice. She has published on South African apartheid and Atlantic slavery. She is currently working on a book project about the Education Justice Project. Rebecca has been a resident of Urbana-Champaign for almost 9 years. She shares a house with her husband, William Sullivan, daughters Anna and Isabella, and stepson Eamon. It is her great pride that her children believe that it is normal for a university professor to teach in prison. Ladies and gentlemen, Rebecca Ginsburg.
Good morning, and thanks so much for coming out today. People I speak to about my work with the Education Justice Project, and before I say that, there are a lot of people here who are involved with the Education Justice Project. Can I just ask you to raise your hand if you're involved with our work or teach or otherwise? Thank you for coming. And did I miss something? I wanted to point them out. People I speak to about my work with the Education Justice Project are often surprised to learn how many different critiques are leveled against higher education in prison programs. There are critiques from the left, there are critiques from the right, and there are critiques from the center. You might say that the idea of offering a free college education to incarcerated men and women has something to offend anybody, no matter your political sensibilities. And I'm actually sympathetic to some of these critiques. I believe that there are dangers in prison education work that are real and that are profound. The dangers include focusing so much on the needs of the perpetrators of violence that we neglect or lose sight of the interests of the victims of violence. They involve also the appearance or the actual complicity with the prison industrial complex, because after all, you can't run a prison education program without working with the prison. And another danger of prison education work is that of reinforcing social power and privilege through the structure of an education program or through its curriculum, given the class and racial dynamics of such programs. And these are serious challenges. But if the challenges inherent in college and prison programs are deep and profound, so too are the potential positive impacts of college and prison. What we've accomplished within the Education Justice Project, and by we I mean the incarcerated students, the instructors, and our allies, is so much more than I could have imagined when we started the program in 2006. This is my take-home message. This is the one thing that I hope that you will remember. College and prison programs are not unequivocally wonderful, positive things. They're not, and I would be the last person to suggest that they are. They contain within them the potential for reinforcing existing patterns and systems of harm and of violence. Such programs also contain within them tremendous, tremendous potential for real social change. That's my argument, and I'm going to introduce it by stepping back a little bit in time and providing some historical background to college and prison programs. Then I want to explain the current day context of our work within the Education Justice Project at Danville Correctional Center. Then I'm going to show you some short clips of our program in action. And then I'll address again the question of the potential impacts, the positive impacts of higher education in prison, and how it can be a force for real progressive social change. I'm really looking forward to engaging with you after my presentation with your thoughts, questions, and comments. I'm a historian. My degree is in architecture, my PhD is in architectural. I'm an architectural historian, and so I can't give a talk without including a slide from the 19th century. There have been education programs in Western prisons from about the 16th century, as far as we know, but most of those early programs focused on religious and vocational training. Academic programs in prisons began in the United States in the early 19th century, but these were neither well-funded nor comprehensive efforts, and they certainly didn't include post-secondary, which is to say college or university education. There were some ad hoc initiatives to offer occasional college classes in some state prisons in the late 19th century, and states also offered to varying degrees access to correspondence courses. But there appear to have been no college and prison programs, as the way we understand that term, until the mid-20th century. And interestingly, the program that is credited with being the first college and prison program in the United States was based here in Illinois. It was supported by Southern Illinois University, and it brought 4-credit courses, guest speakers, and other extracurricular activities to men incarcerated at Menard State Prison, which is in downstate Illinois. That was in the 1950s. By the 1990s, there were dozens of programs like that across the country. And then 1994. In 1994, Congress passed, I'm going to get it right, the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act. That's the act that disallowed the use of Pell Grants for incarcerated men and women. And within the next 5 years, almost all existing college and prison programs closed. Some of our students at Danville Correctional Center can still remember when Roosevelt University in Chicago offered college credit and a baccalaureate degree program in prisons across the state. They can also remember when it closed, when it stopped offering those programs in 2001 because it simply couldn't sustain itself. For better or worse, most of these programs had relied on federal dollars to support their operations, and they just couldn't continue to operate once those federal dollars dried up. So what's the current state of higher education in prison in the United States? Well, although the United States, as you know, and as I think you'll be reminded at every single talk during this lecture series, although the United States has the highest record of incarceration in the history of the world, we don't invest equally well in education systems within those settings. Most states in the United States offer some sort of post-secondary education. Typically, that's on a contractual basis between the local departments of corrections and the state community college boards. And that's the case as it here in Illinois as well. Most of the classes are vocational in nature versus academic courses. And they're very uneven in quality. And then there are about 30 programs in the country that are programs like the Education Justice Project, which is to say what I call independent college and prison programs. What I mean by independent is that they do not operate under contract with the local Department of Corrections. They don't earn contract dollars for the services that they provide, the educational services that they provide in the prison. Instead, they rely on support from the host institutions, grants and donations for their work. And independent college and prison programs are also distinguished from the other sort in that they have a clear and explicit social justice mission.